Alright, how you guys doing today? We about to get into Acts chapter 12. First things first though, make sure you like the video, hit a little exit full screen, scroll a bit, like it, and then full screen it back up. You feel me? So, for my English class, I'm writing in my essay topic for the argumentative piece of it is going to be that science doesn't really disprove creation, nor does it prove the Big Bang Theory or anything like that. So I asked one of my engineering friends who I go to the gym with, who's also in the youth group, I say, do you believe in carbon dating? Because apparently carbon dating is flawed, but there's some other stuff as well. He says, yeah, for the most part, it can prove things around 50,000 years old. And I say, well, doesn't that disprove creation technically? And technically, things are measured from the fall because that's when death started to happen. So when they say Adam was 953, it was 953 until, his birth year was when the fall happened. And then the 953 happened after that. And if you count or take into account the fact that there might have been a time period before the fall that, they lived with God, that technically we don't know how long that time is that they could have been there before they ate the apple. So it could have been, God bless everything, tells them not to eat on the tree, and then they don't eat the tree for 50 million years, living forever. But in my mind, I think that they would have kids before that point, right? So I don't really know. But also, they might not have had kids until that point. Who really knows? We don't know. Only God knows. So technically, the Earth may not be 7,000 years old. But even if that was the case, that can't be the case. Because if they weren't having kids, they didn't have Cain and Abel in that time. Cain wouldn't have been able to kill Abel. So that means that the clock would have started ticking at the fall. Then they would have had kids after the fall. Meaning that Cain and Abel, the second and third person, or the third and fourth person on the planet, would have been made within the 6,000 or 7,000 years that the Earth is projected to be made in, as shown in the creation story. So there can't be another human that's 50,000 million years old, because Adam and Eve were the first, and they didn't die until at the 900 years after the fall, and Cain and Abel weren't even born at that point of the fall. So there was nobody before then, and nobody died before then. So it couldn't be the case. So anything carbon dated that says humanity or anything is more than wooden handles and all that, we did, no, not true. So carbon dating's got to be false. And if it's not false, then it's got to be the carbon and stuff is mixed up because of the flood, which is another reason that, there's fossils from that dinosaur video that I linked in another one of the videos that I made, one of the past few ones. It was about this time that King Herod arrested someone who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them. He had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. When he saw that this met with approval among the Jews, he proceeded to seize Peter also. This happened during the festival of unleavened bread. After arresting him, he put him in prison, handing him over to be guarded by 4 squads of 4 soldiers each. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover. So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. "Quick, get up," he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then the angel said to him, "Put on your clothes and sandals," and Peter did also. "Wrap your cloak around you and follow me," the angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea that what the angel was doing was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. When they had walked through the length of one street, suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said, "Now I know without a doubt that the Lord has sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were hoping would happen." When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark, where many people had gathered and were praying. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and a servant named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed she ran back without opening it and exclaimed, "Peter is at the door." "You're out of your mind," they told her. When she kept insisting that it was so, they said, "It must be his angel." But Peter kept on knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Peter motioned with his hand for them to be quiet and described how the Lord brought him out of the prison. "Tell James and the other brothers and sisters about this," he said. Then he left for another place. In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had become of Peter. After Herod had a thorough search made for him and did not find him, he cross-examined the guards and ordered that they be executed. Then Herod went from Judea to Caesarea and stayed there. He had been quarreling with the people of Tyre and Sidon. They now joined together and sought an audience with him. After securing the support of Blastus, a trusted personal servant of the king, they asked for peace. because they depended on the king's country for their food supply. On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robes, sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, "This is the voice of a god, not of a man." Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. But the word of God continued to spread and flourish. When Barnabas and Saul had finished their mission, they returned from Jerusalem, taking with them John, also called Mark. I could go for some steak right now. There's different Herods, so I looked up which Herod was which when it came to, all the things. So this is the Herod Agrippa 1 in Acts 12. And he was struck down and killed by worms. And they said the medical definition was gangrene, an infectious gangrene in the genitals that caused worms. So that's tough. Just for history, I wanted to see what history said about Herod dying. Because I was reading this report that said, oh, the Bible is false and this is why. And I was reading it, and I was like, I guess. And then I realized that the website was literally the American Atheist. So not really a neutral third party. Technically, you could argue that, well, they're using this evidence, but they didn't really have references. All they were saying was that, oh, this gospel was written here, but these few chapters came after this, so it wasn't really an eyewitness account, and blah 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 blah. So this one's false, the Pauline letters, some of them weren't even written by Paul, blah 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 blah. Yeah, so cap. All right, that's gonna be the end of the chapter. I hope you guys have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Peace.